Welcome to USTC360. I'm Ginger Chang. Our story today is about Jimmy Wu. Jimmy was incarcerated when he was 16. Fortunately, the Inside Out Writers Rehabilitation Writing Program provided the therapeutic outlet for Jimmy to spiritually express himself. In return, the power of writing helped him positively turn his life around. Our guest today is Judy Wong, who has helped 2 inmates herself to find redemption. Welcome, Judy. So first off, I understand you've become a mother to Apeng and Guoyan. But how did you first learn to overlook the criminal stereotype?
Well, I met Apeng because of a psychiatrist in Rikers Island. He called Tzu Ji, and he told us there was an inmate committed suicide because of a severe sentence. He didn't speak English. I went there to visit him because he needed help. I am not there to judge him. I just want to treat him as a member of our family. That's it.
Then what about Guoyan?
Guoyan was introduced to me through another inmate. He saw the letter I wrote to another inmate. He was so impressed. That's why he wrote to me directly. That's how we started.
Well, in our first segment, there are 2 individuals who are just like you, who overlooked the criminal label, and they saw the inner beauty and Jimmy's gift for writing. So let's go meet Sister Janet Harris and Mark Salzman.
We had the very stereotypical view of the gangs that police and prosecutors have the criminalized definition. I saw them as these beautiful people that had the potential to change, and that writing would become the catalyst. So that's how it started. The idea was to help them to discover what was good within them and to see beyond the gang culture.
In 1997, I was having a terrible time writing a novel, as happens a lot, you know, where you're trying to write something, you're trying to look inside and find what's there, but nothing's coming out. I was very blocked, frustrated, and at that time, a friend of mine who was a writer, he was a writer for the Los Angeles Times, invited me to visit a class he was teaching at Central Juvenile Hall, a writing class. He said, "You'll learn a lot, believe me." So it was going to be a one-time thing. I was going to visit. So I went down there. I was dreading it. I thought I was going to be so uncomfortable. I imagined we'd be sitting in a room with a bunch of guys who are like the guys that used to pick on me when I was in junior high school, right? They were going to be thuggy and they were going to enjoy making people uncomfortable. And I thought they would have right away sensed that I was, you know, a guy who'd be easy to push around, and that they were going to tease me, or that they were going to read aloud poems about their guns and about their brave lifestyle and their drugs and their gangs. So I went just to make my friend feel good. You know, I couldn't say no without feeling guilty. And I went and I thought I was going to be miserable, but instead, what the kids then read aloud to me, their work, was so shocking to me. It was so completely unlike what I expected that I just almost didn't know what to think.
When you write, it's not external, it's internal. And it becomes an internal approach to something deeper. And when that approach is validated by rival gang members in your group, you've made it. I mean, not only do your homies love you, the rival gang members who happen to be in your writing group love you too. And that's because they become very authentic. One of the things that they often said to me, talking about the program, it helped them to take off the mask. And once that external fake image is gone, possibilities are amazing, amazing.
Francesca, no, baby. Francesca, hey.
As I was leaving that night, that's when the woman who at that time was a coordinator of volunteer activities, Sister Janet Harris, she knew I was visiting. She cornered me and she said, "What did you think of their writing?" And I said, "I was amazed by it." She said, "Did you tell them that?" And I said, I tried to. She goes, "Do you realize you could have changed a life right there? Because a lot of those boys have never had someone like you respond to them positively. Even if you could only come once a week, you could change lives consistently, but twice a week would actually be better." And that's where I think you should be. She had already figured out where I was going to be, and it was just a matter of getting me to do it. And sure enough, I ended up agreeing to start my own class. But I'd never done anything like that before, and how am I going to structure this class? So I talked to Sister Janet about it. I expressed my concerns about it. She said, "Don't worry." She goes, "All you have to be is be yourself. All those kids need is an adult who's good at being an adult and who enjoys being an adult, who feels that adult life is worth living. Show them just by being yourself that there is something for them to look forward to if they take our word for it and try to rebuild their lives." So, okay, well, so where am I going to find the students? And she said, "Well, don't worry, I'm going to get you started. There are 3 boys in this unit who I've had my eye on for a long time, and I think they would be the ideal people. And the one, first of all, that you must meet is a boy named Jimmy Woo." And she'd known him for several months, and she said, "He will be your perfect student. He will be the leader of the class. I can tell you already."
I met Jimmy at Juvenile Hall when I was chaplain. I was interviewed by a journalist from the Los Angeles Times. I said, he volunteered to help. Well, he thought it was, something small. And I said, I think it would be good if we started a writing program. Would you be in charge of it? So reluctantly he said yes. And then he got Mark Salzman, a Pulitzer Prize nominee, to join him. And I saw Jimmy and I told Jimmy, "All right, you're in Mark's class." It was kind of bossy.
On the road that I have taken, one day walking, I awaken. One day walking, I awaken. Amazed to see where I have come, where I'm going, where I'm from. This is not the path I thought. This is not the place I sought.
So the way she arranged for me to meet Jimmy was that Jimmy was part of a theater group down there at Juvenile Hall, and they were giving a performance. So Sister Janet invited me to be at the performance. She said, "Jimmy's going to perform there. You will know right away. This guy was meant to be working with you." And the performance was what I remember about it was hours long. It was way, way, way too long, and there was a lot of rap music and gospel and plays about ninjas and all. Well, finally, out comes this Asian American kid, and he read a poem called "Here I Am," and it was just jaw-dropping.
In this lonely place that has become my life, I am all alone. My family, my friends, even my dreams are all gone. Everyone. All I do all day is think really hard about how my life went wrong. Let me tell you my story. Let me tell you about me. Don't worry, it won't take very long. I was born in Taiwan in the year 79, and my father named me Jimmy. My parents held me in their arms, they gave me a kiss. They were as proud as any parents could be. When I was 2, we came to the States, and my parents opened up a shop. We sold some ice cream, we'd sold some shakes, but eventually we had to stop. From there we moved on. My parents found new jobs. They began to work for the county. The hours were long, but the money was good. Everything went smoothly for all I could see. When I turned 9, my parents gave me a brother, and I got to choose his name. When he entered this world, when he entered our lives, I knew nothing would ever be the same. For the next few years, everything was fine, and my bond with my brother grew. Then something terrible happened. It caught me by surprise. It hurt me like a hurt I never knew. When my brother was 3, my parents divorced. They said that it was for the best. The yelling, the screaming, the physical blows had finally all come to a rest. I moved out with Mom. Little brother stayed with Dad, but we'd still see each other on the weekends. I became a loner. I became withdrawn. It seemed so hard to make a single friend. 2 years pass, and my brother turns 5. He is full of love, he is full of life, and in his heart, he is full of joy. Then we noticed something about the way he walked. He was always moving and walking on his toes. So we took him to a doctor to let him be examined. And slowly, more changes in him started to show. My little brother was diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is a neuromuscular disease. When I heard the news, my heart was torn apart, and hurting, I collapsed and fell to my knees. The doctor said my brother won't live past the age of 20, and when he goes, it will be full of pain. His muscles will start to shrink. He will be unable to move. The only thing left untouched will be his brain. And so I tried to ignore him, try to unattach myself, because it hurt too much to be around. I couldn't stand to see him. I would start to cry, and burning, my tears would fall to the ground. I started cursing God for allowing this to happen to my sweet, innocent, beloved little brother. Why did this have to happen? Why did he hurt us so? I always thought that we'd be together forever. I started to hang with gangsters, gave up on my education. I felt that everything was just a waste of time. One thing led to another. Somehow I got pulled under. The next thing I knew, I was in jail for committing a crime. My parents were in shock. They didn't know what to do. To them, it seemed as if they had lost both their sons. Many nights were sleepless. My mind was full of questions. I suddenly realized that having fun isn't always fun. Now here I am, sitting behind walls, with nothing to do but think about how much I lost, about how much I will lose, how much further will I be able to sink. I've been here for 19 months. The time has gone by fast. Hopefully, it will always be that way. There is nothing I could do but sit in my room and pray, for I have faith that I will be out one day. My brother is now 8. He can barely walk. In a wheelchair is how he gets around. But he is still so happy. He is still so full of life. And faith in God is something that he has also found. I want my parents to know that I love them and that I'm really sorry for putting them in a situation such as this. I hope that they'll forgive me. I hope that they'll still love me. All the good times that we had, I will always miss.
How clear his insight into his own psychology, into his own past, how willing he was to reveal his fear, his anguish, his anger with himself, his sense of despair, all these things that for most of us, very difficult. It's very difficult to access to those feelings, even more difficult to put them into words. He did all of that. And I just remember thinking, holy cow, when I was 17 years old, I don't think I could have done that. So then I got excited.
Prisoners need to be given a window of opportunity. After Jimmy was transferred from juvenile hall to state prison, Jimmy was able to continue his writing through the exchange of letters between his mentor, Mark Salzman. Judy, I have here actually a stack of letters. This stash in particular is between just you and Apong. Which letter stands out to you in particular?
Well, I remember it's about 2 years ago. Apong sent me a letter telling me that he decided to quit smoking this time, only if I allow him to call me mother. I have been trying to tell him to quit smoking for a long time, but he never made it. But this time, he decided to do it because of the letter, which means a lot to him. He even told me, just send me a piece of paper will do. Since then, I never skip a week. Right now, he is moving to Building D, which means only for those inmates behaves very good. Because in this building, they have their own kitchen, they have their own living room, so they can watch TV.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's take a short break. And in our next segment, we're going to meet another individual, Eric McGinnis, who is also helping incarcerated youths to reconcile with their troubled past and start anew.
When I was asked by Eric McGinnis to write that poem, I just thought, okay, I want to do it in a poetry form. All the words, everything just started coming together on its own. I can't really explain how my writing or creative process works. Sometimes I'm sitting there and I keep thinking all day and I have writer's block and nothing comes out no matter how hard I try. But when I get inspired, for some reason, things just come out by itself. There's no effort. There's a lot of times I sat in prison later on where I felt like writing something and my hands seemed to be moving on its own because everything would just be pouring out.
I met Jimmy at Central Juvenile Hall. I was the acting instructor there. There was a theater program called Troubled Souls. Jimmy had seen a previous play and had mentioned to me that he thought that he could, participate. But Jimmy was very shy. Jimmy didn't want to really be on stage. Jimmy just kind of wanted to hang around. I created this piece called So Here I Am. And in the piece, you basically have to talk about 4 periods of your life. And each time you talk about that period, you end with, so here I am. The first is your first sort of memory of your life, whatever you remember. I remember a red wagon, whatever it is. The second is a period where you're a little older. Mostly you're around 9-ish. Third, you're a teenager. It was where he was at that point, at that time, so he was 17-ish at that time. So that, and then the last one is where you're going to be 10 years from that point. And each time you say so. So 4 kids are on the stage and their backs are turned, and so one goes, when I was 3, I remember my father saying, son, you're going to be the greatest something ever. So here I am. Another kid, when I was 3, such and such and such, this kid, so here I am, so here I am. So then it gets older. And what you start to realize is that they all have these sort of common traits of memories. So here I am, so here I am, so here I am, so here I am.
This is not the path I thought. This is not the place I sought. This is not the dream I bought. Just a fever of fate I've caught. I'll change highways in a while. At the crossroads, 1 more mile. My path is lit by my own fire. I'm going only where I desire. On the road that I have taken, one day walking, I awaken. And I remember halfway through, I got stuck. I forgot what I was supposed to say next. So I was just standing there looking at the audience, and I thought it was under my breath, but I said, damn. And it was the microphone heard that word, so the entire audience started laughing, and they started applauding me to encourage me to go on. And then I suddenly remembered what I had forgotten, so I picked it up and continued from there. After I said damn, after they encouraged me and applauded, then basically the nervousness and everything else went away, because I was like, okay, well, the audience is there for me, and it made me feel really, really proud to say that, wow, here are a room full of strangers who are, laughing with me, not at me, and, they're giving me all their support. And when I was done, like I mentioned earlier, the thundering applause, it just spoke for itself. So I was, it was a very proud moment in my life, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget that night when I was back in my room thinking about what a wonderful day it turned out to be, even though I was incarcerated.
People looked at our plays as transforming young lives and actually transforming the way people thought about the incarcerated youth and about the laws of, trying a kid at 14 as an adult. These sort of things changed their lives. They spoke, and the name Troubled Souls, these kids are capable of doing anything. See Jimmy now, it's like the fruits of my labor. You know, it's the treasure. It's the part of my life that I say, okay, well done.
I owe Eric McGinnis a huge amount. I mean, I need to give him a huge amount of credit for doing what he did with those kids back then, you know, because he did help us tap into our potential. And standing on that stage with those two other individuals after reading my poem to them, it was a very proud moment in my life. And through that poem, I was able to meet my future great friend and mentor, Mark Salzman, who happened to be sitting in that audience that day, only I didn't know it at that time.
What I always wanted to say to Jimmy in his younger, when he was there at Juvenile Hall was, I understand what you're feeling, and trust me, if you come to feel a sense of acceptance of yourself, it will be okay. You will do all right. It will turn around. You will not feel like this forever. And I felt like I could say that honestly because I felt I'd been through a version of that. So that was what I really wanted to reassure him is that just hang in there because I can see you're a person, you are going to gradually come to understand this experience, you're going to find meaning in your experience, you're going to find a way to turn this horrible, searing, crucible experience, you're going to turn it into an idea of life that is going to be a source of strength for you, confidence and faith. And then, the problem of waking up every day and feeling, oh my God, not another day, that problem is going to gradually dissolve and it's going to be replaced by feeling like today is an adventure. So that was my message to it.
He walks on water and doesn't get wet.
Welcome back. So Judy, I also have here something very significant. Can you tell us what's significant about this?
I remember it is 1998. Guoyan was trying to send me a car. You can see he has no material. This is a file folder. And he was using a needle to cut this paper. I treasure this a lot.
And this is also very special, especially for Guoyan and you. Can you explain?
Oh yes, I just received a certificate which was issued by New York State Department of Labor in recognition of his cooking lesson. He has been working in the kitchen, which is serving the correctional officers for 7 years. I'm so proud of him.
Then what about when you told your father that you adopted a son?
He said, no, I don't want those grandsons. But I know he was really feel sympathy for those people. Eventually he accepted.
Well, that's really great. And I hope today from your story, more people will learn to be open-minded. Thank you very much for coming on to the show.
Thank you, Ginger.
Thank you.